Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
And we begin this afternoon with breaking developments out of New Orleans. 15 people are dead and at least 35 others are injured after a New Year's Eve attack on Bourbon Street. You're watching 13 News Now at 4. I'm Janet Roach.
And I'm Dana Smith. Police say a driver intentionally drove into a crowd during the New Year's celebrations. And we're just learning police are investigating the incident as an act of terrorism. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
New Orleans famed Bourbon Street, now a crime scene as the FBI investigates what they're calling a terror attack on New Year's Day. Federal officials identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. Police say he rammed a rented pickup truck into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street just after 3 a.m., driving 3 blocks before crashing, then getting out and firing at police with an assault rifle. Officials say 2 officers were hurt before police shot and killed the suspect. Witnesses describe the scene as gruesome.
What we saw was insanity. I mean, something out of a movie. The graphic nature of it, and it was unbelievable.
Investigators say they found an ISIS flag, weapons, and improvised explosive devices inside the truck. They're now working to determine whether he had any affiliations with terrorist organizations. The FBI says they also discovered more IEDs planted around the area in the historic French Quarter, some of which were deemed viable according to sources.
As of now, 2 IEDs have been found and rendered safe.
Police flying drones around the area searching for more potential devices. Because this was a 3-pronged attack, officials say they're working to determine whether the suspect had help.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his known associates.
They're also digging into the suspect's past, the FBI leading the investigation.
They're pulling on every thread to figure out the pattern of life of this individual just prior to this incident, the night before, the day before.
Leading up to the holidays, federal law enforcement had been warning local police around the country that vehicle ramming was a key area of concern and to be prepared for these kinds of incidents. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Well, I hope everybody's sober. Okay. Yeah, so that shit went on there early this morning. I think not long after the ball dropped, I guess. Unbelievable. You know, we talk about starting the new year off on the wrong foot. But yeah, no sooner did everybody's out cheering and, you know, watching the fireworks like they do in New Orleans when they do New Year's. Now, then this shit happens. What? 10, 15 people dead, a whole bunch more injured. The guy steps out of his nice white truck, and he's an American, by the way, okay? This is no immigrant. Steps out of his fucking truck, shoots at the cops, and the cops shoot back, kill him dead. But here's an article here that gives more information here on this here. So it's this was just published here not even an hour ago. So it's entitled "What We Know About Shamsuddin Jabbar, the Suspect in the New Orleans Attack," by Pierre Thomas, Josh Margolin, Aaron Kadersky, Luke Barr, Bill Hutchinson and Meredith DeLiso from ABC News. The suspect in a deadly attack on New Year's revelers in New Orleans has been identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, a 42-year-old U.S.-born citizen and U.S. Army veteran from Texas, according to the FBI. At least 15 people were killed and over 24 injured after a man drove a Ford pickup truck through a crowd on Bourbon Street at a high rate of speed early Wednesday, multiple law enforcement sources and Louisiana Representative Troy Carter had told ABC. Authorities are working to determine whether the deceased suspect had any affiliation with terrorist organizations after an ISIS flag was found on a pole on the truck's trailer hitch. After barreling through the crowd over a 3-block stretch, the suspect allegedly got out of the truck wielding an assault rifle and opened fire on police officers. Law enforcement officials briefed incident told the ABC News. Officers returned fire, killing the suspect. At least 2 police officers were shot and wounded. Quote, "This man was trying to run over as many people as he possibly could," unquote. New Orleans Police Chief Ann Kirkpatrick said at a press briefing on Wednesday afternoon. She said the driver was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. Weapons and potential IEDs were located in the suspect's vehicle, and other potential IEDs were located in the French Quarter, according to the FBI, which is leading the investigations. As of now, 2 of the IEDs have been found and rendered safe. Investigators found homemade pipe bombs at the scene of the Bourbon Street attack, law enforcement sources told ABC News. So there was more that was supposed to happen than just the truck plowing through people. It would seem to me like there was more than just one person, prepared to do damage here. There could be other suspects here. Maybe this guy with the truck isn't the only one here. The crude devices contain coils and nails, the sources said. Authorities also found a grenade, which is among the items tested for viability. In addition to the assault rifle, Jabbar was allegedly armed with a handgun, sources with knowledge of the investigation told ABC. New Orleans Mayor Latoya Cantrell described the horrific incident as a quote-unquote terrorist attack. And the FBI said it was being investigated as an act of terror. The suspect is not believed to be, quote, solely responsible, unquote, for the attack. That's what I just said. According to the FBI, which said it is pursuing leads to identify any of his associates. New Orleans police have reviewed surveillance video that appears to show several people planting potential explosive devices in advance of the vehicle ramming, leading the FBI to conclude the driver of that pickup did not act alone in the attack. Investigators are urgently working to identify the individuals who were seen on camera and take them into custody. Jabbar is believed to have been discharged honorably from the Army, though investigators are still looking into his military record. Yeah, I'd be curious about that too, especially if he served in the Middle East. In a YouTube video posted in 2020, Jabbar says he was born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and spent a decade working in the U.S. military before becoming a realtor in the Houston area. His years in the military were spent working as a human resources and IT specialist, Jabbar says in the video, which has since been removed from YouTube. The suspect has been living in the Houston area, according to Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Authorities with the FBI and Harris County Sheriff's Office were, quote, conducting law enforcement activity, unquote, in an area of North Houston in connection with the New Orleans attack, FBI Houston said Wednesday afternoon. The truck used in the attack had a Texas license plate, according to Carter. The vehicle appeared to be a Ford F-150 Lightning, an electric vehicle. It appears the truck was rented through the Turo app, a car-sharing company, according to Rodrigo Diaz, the owner of the truck. Diaz told ABC News he rented that truck to an individual through the app and is currently talking to the FBI. He declined further comment. Diaz's wife, Dora Diaz, told ABC News that she and her husband are devastated by the incident. Quote, "My husband rents cars through the Turo app. I can't tell you anything else. I'm here with my kids, and this is devastating," unquote, Dora Diaz said. ABC News has reached out to Turo. The suspect rented the truck on Monday, according to Patrick. Quote, "We have learned he was driving the rented truck in Houston before heading to New Orleans," unquote, Patrick said. I have a question. If this guy was a terrorist and he's associated with ISIS and he's driving to a location where he's going to do all this damage, apparently him and some other people, okay? Why would he drive his pickup all the way from Houston, Texas to New Orleans with a big goddamn ISIS flag hanging off the back of his fucking truck? Wouldn't that just draw attention, okay, to this guy? You know, I'm sure somebody would say, hey, look, a fucking guy in a white pickup just drove by here with a fucking flag. It says ISIS on it or something. You know, do something about it. This guy could be a terrorist. You know, why would he do that and draw attention to himself? I mean, every picture that they show here of that white pickup, okay, when they show the flagpole, the flag is covered up with some black bag. Okay, now I think that was put there by the police or something. They're covering up the flag, and they're saying it was an ISIS flag. Well, why are they covering up the flag? I mean, they're telling us what it was, so why did they go through the step of covering that flag up in the first place? You know what I'm saying? It just seems a little bit suspicious, you know, in a way that, you know, on one hand, they didn't want anyone to see the flag, and then on the other hand, the press just said it was an ISIS flag. Okay? You know? And the fact that this guy would drive around with a pickup with this big terrorist flag hanging off his damn truck, I mean, Christ, it's like, you know, you know, might as well have put a banner there that says, I am a terrorist and I'm going to do something. You know, I mean, doesn't that kind of seem a little bizarre? Especially, I mean, if this guy was in the army, I think he would know better than to do something like that, you know, not to draw attention to himself. I mean, it's like if you're a KKK member, all right, you're not going to walk around all dressed in your fucking hood and everything, right? You know, you don't want people to come after. You know, it's just, it just seemed kind of ridiculous that this guy did that. All right, now, I'm just assuming that flag was there from when he left. I mean, maybe he put it on after when he got to New Orleans, but still, again, why would they cover it? Okay, why did they cover the flag up with a bag? I mean, it's like, well, the media is going to tell us what it was. I mean, they did, right? So why did they cover it? And since, I mean, they say they have the other fellas who planted all those bombs everywhere. I mean, they have them on camera and location, so there might be more arrests coming. But the thing is, he's an American, okay? Maybe the other guys aren't. Maybe they came over here to hook up with this guy, and together they were going to do something. I mean, that's a possibility. And if that's the case, then that means he's been in contact with terrorists all this time. Because they were going to do this attack in New Orleans, but he's all the way out in Texas. So that meant, you know, you're going to have to drive out here to meet with us, and we're going to do all this damage here on New Year's Day. You know, so there had to be some coordination there, conspiracy, all right? Because when you involve more than one person in a crime, that's, you know, by law, that's considered conspiracy. So there could be several people, and some of these people may not even be American. They might be, you know, terrorists that got here, you know, like they always do, just like the ones that crashed into the Twin Towers. I mean, some of them were pilots learning how to fly. And what state was it they were doing? I can't remember now, but yeah, they were taking pilot lessons in a fucking state. So when they hijacked the airplanes, they knew how to fly, at least to crash into a building. They didn't have to learn how to land the fucking thing. They weren't going to land it at all. They were just going to take it from the pilots in the air and then just crash them into the building. So, like I said, I mean, some of these people, you know, and it slipped through the radar. You know, it doesn't look very good for our homeland security, right? That they said we desperately needed, you know. this could have been a bigger fucking attack than what happened with just this white pickup. So, you know, another question is where did the others go? Why didn't they set their bombs off? Why were they all planted and then nothing went off? I mean, it's like what, they all got scared and ran or something? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there could be bombs on timers, you know, for Christ's sake. I mean, we don't really know how far around that attack was going to go, but the fact they've been finding them, and, you know, and it's like, you know, this guy with the truck didn't have a remote detonator, I guess. They didn't seem to find any electronic gadgets or anything like that, just more bombs and guns. But it seemed like, you know, this was a thought out thing. And of course, a lot of people in New Orleans are kind of pissed because it seems like, you know, it's easy for people to get into that area and do this kind of shit. And, you know, and so, I mean, they're right on the Gulf, right? And he could have got into the country on a boat. But where the hell, like I said, where's the security? You know, somebody comes into this country and we don't have, you know, what do you call it? I mean, like when foreigners come into this country, you know, they got to go through whatever the hell they got to go through before they can just, you know, head out onto the streets. You know, I don't know. It just seemed awful strange that, you know, some of these things they're saying here. And the fact that they've been finding all kinds of, like they said, pipe bombs and shit like that. I mean, all these things were planted there. They were designed to go off. Why didn't they? You know, who was in control of them bombs? Were they all on timers? You know, did they find them before they went off? I mean, that'd have been pretty lucky on their part, because I mean, if they coordinated this to happen at a certain time, then the bombs would have went off at a certain time before they could have found them all. So I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of things that make you go about this thing, you know. But like I said, this is a hell of a way to start the new year. I mean, it's a bad omen, but I kind of knew that, and I think a lot of you out there watching probably figured this year is going to be shit anyway, because of, especially once Trump gets sworn in, which will be, you know, the final, the twisting of the key to unlock the door to hell there, basically. So I don't know. This is, you know, and then of course you had that, you know, the subway attacks in New York City. You know, that person getting set on fire and somebody getting shoved in front of a fucking subway and survived, miraculously survived it. I mean, it seems like there's an awful lots of anger and shit going on. I mean, if you think it's bad now, wait till things start to really pick up there. Once Nutball here gets sworn in, you're going to see anger on a rise in this country here that's really going to knock your socks off, especially for the poor and the immigrants. So, you know, anyway, let's go to a commercial break, and we'll come back, and there's another video I want to play here for you. So let's go to the break.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
served in Congress. Tulsi Gabbard was Syrian dictator Bashar Assad's biggest fan.
She went to Syria in 2017 for a photo op with Bashar al-Assad while he was massacring his own people.
Knowing his record of brutal war crimes and human rights abuses, she even defended Assad after he used chemical weapons on civilians. She promotes Vladimir Putin's worst propaganda, backs Putin's excuses for his illegal war in Ukraine. She fought sanctions against him. Now Trump wants her to run all of America's intelligence operations. She'll know every secret, the identity of everyone who helps the United States. America's allies know Gabbard is a security nightmare. The U.S. Senate is being asked to confirm her in the most powerful intelligence role in the world. It's a risk America can't take.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, here's this other video here that's going to be kind of a I told you so moment for Democrats, which is something that that phrase we're going to be using a lot in the next while, you know, because everything that we predicted was going to happen is happening. We're being proven right almost every day. Trump or Musk does or says something, and it's like, you know, MAGA is in shock mode, and everybody else is like, we told you so. Okay, you know, how many more times, you know, is MAGA going to have to be taken to school here and find out that, you know, Democrats were never trying to lie to you about things, okay? We weren't pulling this shit out of our ass. We learned our lesson with the first 4 years of that dingbat as president, okay? So let's go to let's go to that video here, and we'll talk about that after.
All right, guys, what you're about to see here can only be described as glorious. Every now and then, there's a moment where some right-winger, some MAGA member, doesn't even recognize it, but they basically admit, like, yeah, the left-wingers were right all along, right? And they're not with it enough mentally to understand that that's what they're doing, is they're admitting the other side was right. But this is just such a beautiful example of it here that, you know, I'm sure if you show this back to Laura Loomer and explain to her, you do realize you just admitted lefties were correct all along, right? I don't even think she could deny it. I don't even think she could deny it. So let's start with this one. I got a couple clips of hers. Here she is talking to Eric Bolling. Here we go.
Are you surprised we haven't heard from any of these folks in Trump world right now? You know, Steve, these people are on Fox a lot. Stephen's a good friend of mine. Stephen Miller used to come on my show once every week or two or so. But I'm very close. And I text them, and honestly, I haven't heard back. So I'm not sure where they are. Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country.
Say it one more time. Say it louder for everybody in the back. Tee-hee-hee. The core of left-wing politics since day one actually is completely true. Tee-hee-hee. Oh, would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? In other words, the core issue is not any of the horse shit that people on the right like to pretend is the core issue. Usually they go to immigration first and foremost, right? Immigrants are the reason your life sucks. You know, immigrants are screwing you over. Trans people are screwing you over. This is the core of right-wing politics in the year 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. In the year 2025, right? But guess what? This is a sly admission. Maybe the actual core of the problem is robber baron billionaires controlling our entire political system and rigging it in favor of them and against you. Huh. You don't say. You don't say. Interesting, Laura.
Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country. I mean, essentially what is happening, and I love President Trump. I'm not saying that President Trump is bought and paid for, but
oh my God, I love it. Oh my God, laser it in my brain. Yes. I'm not saying Trump is a sellout. I'm not saying Trump is bought and paid for, but hit me with it one more. But hit me with that but one more time. That is the biggest but. I won't make any more jokes, but there are many I could make. Here we go. Let's keep going.
It sounds like people are scared of crossing the king of the world, Elon Musk, the monarch, okay? Nobody wants to cross this guy, the richest man in the world who controls access to social media, the digital town square, and is now basically has everybody in a codependent, abusive relationship like they're a bunch of junkies, because he's been able to monetize the platform so that all the conservatives using his platform are essentially addicted. They're a bunch of addicts now, addicted to social media because their voices were silenced for so long. And it's like cutting a junkie off cold turkey. Okay, you're going to go crazy and you're going to have withdrawals. And he understands now that he's created this codependent junkie versus supplier relationship where if you question or if you try to criticize Elon Musk, you will be demonetized.
Wow. Hey, by the way, Laura and everybody else on the right, where the hell were you when it was the night of the long knives for journalists who were critical of Elon when he bought the platform early on? Where were you to defend Ken Klippenstein when he got banned for sharing the J.D. Vance dossier, which is incredibly analogous to what happened under Jack when the Hunter Biden laptop story, when that was censored? Literally, completely and utterly 100% analogous. You have Ken Klippenstein release the J.D. Vance dossier. Elon drops the hammer on him. Fucking crickets on the right, or outright support for Elon Musk and what he did. How about when Elon banned the Elon Jet account, which was not doxing because it was all publicly available information. He banned that. And how about when he banned all the journalists who reported on the fight between the Elon Jet account and Elon himself? Where were you then? Where were you then? So when Elon's banning the people you guys don't like, www.shh.com, right? But when oh my God, look, now he's banning Groypers, the Nick Fuentes followers. And is he banning them because they're flat out pro-Nazi? No, they've always been pro-Nazi. That was fine. He would even signal boost some outright Nazi content on Twitter. The reason he banned them is because they disagreed with him on the H-1B visas. They crossed him. And Laura lost her verification check. Others on the right, critical of Elon, lost their verification check, lost their ability to monetize on X. Well, what do you know? Turns out the lefties were right all along. Turns out the lefties were correct all along, but we're not done yet. We got more Laura Loomer, more admissions that turns out the left is actually right about everything.
And what we need to have a conversation about is what is it going to mean for the future of our country, our national security, and the incoming Trump administration if we have a bunch of technocrats who are also essentially welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies and they want to take over our defense industry.
I'm low-key convinced that a bunch of right-wingers on Twitter, now after seeing Elon burn everybody and burn the country, now they're like plagiarizing the stuff I say, right? Who was the first one to call Elon Musk a welfare queen? Who was the first one to call him an immigrant, welfare queen, robber baron, and call for his deportation? Who led that charge? I was doing it before it was cool. I was doing it before it was popular. I was doing it and screaming at an angry horde and mob that wanted to behead me for telling the truth. Now all the Johnny-come-latelys are like, you know what? Turns out this guy's a welfare queen. Oh, is he? Is he? If only there was somebody to point it out beforehand and tell you the truth a long time ago. If only, right? If only. God, unbelievable, these people. Just fucking put it in all of your Twitter bios. Just put it. Kyle Kulinski was right about Elon Musk. Just write it. Just admit it. Just admit it.
Welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies and they want to take over our defense industry. If you have a bunch of tech bros with billions of dollars and direct unfettered access to the vice president and the president of the United States, and then they are also, very cordial with our adversaries, as in China and Iran. We see that Elon Musk is having these meetings off the books with Iranian officials, with Chinese officials. What does that mean for us and the future of our constitutional republic?
Okay, hang on. What does that mean? What does that mean for us and the future of our country? By the way, there have been so many flaming red flags. Just remember when that Mark Andreessen douchebag went on Rogan's show? You know, Rogan, the everyman, the down-to-earth regular guy who brings on a billionaire to spew propaganda on a fucking every other weekly basis, right? He brings on this Mark Andreessen guy to lie about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This guy says, it's Elizabeth Warren's personal agency that she gets control. No, it's not. She came up with the idea, but it's not her agency. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau does exactly what it says in the name. This guy lied and said, oh, they debank people. That is literally the exact opposite of the truth. They protect against debanking. You know what else they do? They've returned $19 billion to Americans who were defrauded by big financial institutions. I know, I'm one of them. I told you guys the story, the fake identity theft protection shit that they sold me. I was paying $10 a month or whatever it was, and was for an extended period of time. And then one day I get a check in the mail from the CFPB, from the federal government, and it's for hundreds of dollars because it turns out there was no identity theft protection. They were committing fraud. They were just lying to nickel and dime me and many other people. This is what we're talking about. So this guy wants to shit on one of the best government agencies that's actually working for the American people. One of the absolute best government agencies looking out for regular average Joes and average Janes in this country who are getting shook down by big financial institutions. He said, we got to eliminate that one. Why does he actually want to eliminate that one? Because he's a con artist. He's a fraudster. He's been involved in all these sketchy things where he makes a shitload of profit and screws people over, just like Vivek Ramaswamy and his fucking Alzheimer's drug that failed 4 different trials, and then he pumped it up like it was going to succeed, and then it didn't, and it was a pump and dump, and he pulled the rug out from underneath him, and he ran out the back door with all the money, just like that asshole. So, would you look at that? It turns out all of these tech bro billionaire douchebags are liars, and all they care about is their bottom line, including Elon Musk, the king among them. Turns out he only cares about his money, his profit, his power, his control. If only that was the most obvious thing in the world from day one. If only there was a number of people, including this one, telling you from day one, hey, beware. Would the right-wingers be cheering if George Soros was parading around with a Democratic presidential candidate and giving speeches with them, talking at the rallies, on phone calls with other world leaders? Would that be cool with the right? Yeah, let George Soros run our foreign policy and run our domestic policy. Why not? What can go wrong? As a matter of principle, you should be against that. Why? Because these are robber barons. They're robber barons. Go read about the Gilded Age. Learn about it. This is what happens when you have government of, by, and for the wealthy. They keep rigging the rules for them and against you. There's a reason why we haven't had a higher minimum wage. It hasn't increased since fucking like 2007 or something like that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they didn't pass the PRO Act. There's a reason why we can't get paid family leave passed, even though it polls at over 80%. There's a reason why we don't do a 4-day work week, even though every study says, hey, workers are just as productive, if not more productive, but they get to work 4 days instead of 5. Understand, guys, they're hoodwinking you. They're bamboozling you. And it took till now for these people to realize it. Why? Why are they now realizing it? Because immigrants are involved. That's why. It took the H-1B visa debate for them to realize it. But are they going to snap right back into their serf, peasant-ass mindset? Is that what they're going to do? And will based Elon be a Chad again in a few weeks when he ends up saying something that triggers the libs? You tell me. Because what I've seen to this point, both with Trump and with Elon, is despite any disagreements, eventually they all fucking fall in line. Like the good little peasants they are, with the serf brain that they all possess. Eventually they all fall in line. They do. You do not see this mirrored on the left. You just don't. There was a clip of Rogan the other day talking about Nancy Pelosi and how much money she makes from investments. And saying like, this is brazen corruption, bro. That's true. You know who's made that point 5 trillion times before it ever got to Joe Rogan? Every lefty I know. But you know what else every lefty will admit? That Rogan will never admit. Trump made $160 million from foreign governments while he was president last time. The most brazenly corrupt president we've ever seen. And he hasn't said a fucking peep about that. Because he's okay with corruption and okay with robber barons as long as they're MAGA, as long as they're Republicans. Then it doesn't count. Then there's all these reasons why it's actually okay and it's not what it very plainly is. Will they stand by it? We shall see, but I would not hold my breath. Hey.
So Laura Loomer sounding like a Democrat now, talking about campaign finance reform and, Musk has to go and, it's like, Jesus Christ, now she's sounding like us. It's like I said, it's just, we're going to be spending a lot of the next 4 years listening to MAGA cry and whine about, they changed their mind, now they're going to do this, they said they weren't going to do that. We're going to be hearing them bitch and complain for the next 4 years. In the meantime, the Democrats are just going to be sitting here saying, we told you all this shit was going to happen. You didn't believe us. You thought Trump was the guy. You didn't learn the first time around when he was president. But you had to push the envelope because you couldn't stand a black woman being president in this country. You couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. Your own bigotry sent you down this path. Your own bigotry sent you down this path. Shame on you for that. You'll let your worst instincts keep what was best for this country from happening. Okay? That's why we try to tell people, that racism has to be something we need to fight to get rid of. Okay? Things like that. And that whenever Democrats try to, protect minorities in this country of all different diversities. Okay, we try to protect them for a good reason, is because that's what this country is supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about welcoming everybody, no matter color, creed, religion, whatever the hell you are, it doesn't matter. You're welcome here. But our country's set up where it's very difficult now for anyone to believe that we still do that shit. Smokey, come on, get off of there. Hey, come here. Hey. So, yeah, I mean, it's very hard to convince people because, everybody is so geared up on trying to find blame, okay, at everything around them. Oh, trans people are going to attack us in the bathrooms and, the immigrants are out there eating your cats and dogs. Okay, that kind of bullshit should not even be taken seriously. But it was. That stuff was taken seriously in the face of a very serious election. Okay? The election was treated very much like a circus, on the right at least. Okay? The Democrats came into the thing, with a very serious and optimistic attitude with an agenda on top of that, which was something the MAGA people couldn't get with Trump. But the Democrats presented that. This is what we're going to do. All right? And because there wasn't anything in Kamala's mouth or rhetoric that was saying anything about we need to get rid of the immigrants or we need to keep trans people from using... because she didn't say any of that, it didn't appeal to them. Okay? No. They and if she did, they probably wouldn't believe it anyway if she said it. But the fact is, Trump was saying all the things that these idiot racists wanted to hear. Okay? And, and I take issue with somebody trying to say to me, well, why can't people just agree to disagree? Okay, we can agree to disagree about a lot of things. Like how high the taxes should be in this country. Should religion be taught in schools or not? Okay, things like that. But when you start talking about rounding up people in this country and deporting them and their families, okay, or you start talking about putting somebody in office like RFK Jr. who wants to get he's an anti-vaxxer, okay, when you want to put that one as the head of the fucking health care department in this country, no, you don't agree to disagree with that. That's not something you agree to disagree on. Okay, it's just wrong, period. No matter how you look at it, it's wrong. To get rid of the Department of Education, we can't agree to disagree on that. That's just wrong. There's a whole purpose behind that fucking department being there. You just don't erase it. Okay? People who think like that, in these absolutes and these black and whites, they never consider the ramifications of what they think that should be done. They never think about that. It's always about following what the oligarchs want. They want that gone. Why? Because they want to make money off of making their own school systems. Okay? If they have to compete with the government on anything, they don't like that. Why do you think we can't have universal health care in this country? Because that would put all the healthcare companies out of business, because people aren't going to line up to get fucked in the ass with big bills and go bankrupt. No, we're going to go to the government plan. Okay? They can't compete with the government on that. That's why you're never going to see that in this country. You're never going to see universal health care, no matter how many Democrats they put in the system. Okay? Because hey, even Democrats are getting fucking donations from the healthcare industry. Like it or not, that's the truth. I'm not going to lie to you about that. There are Democrats who get it. Hillary Clinton was one. Okay, but like I said, this is something you can't agree to disagree on. When there's a wrong answer and a right answer, okay? There is no middle ground. There is no yeah, but. 1 + 1 doesn't equal anything more than just 2. We can't agree to disagree, okay? So you just... Like I said, there's certain things you can, and there's a lot of things you can't. And that's why I take issue with people who tell me that, oh, well, it can't just be your way or the highway. You got to agree to disagree or sometime. Yeah, I can, but, you guys haven't said anything to me yet that I can agree to disagree with. You guys come at me at a radical starting point. Your views are extreme. The way you want to correct things is extreme. It's very short-sighted. You might think it quickly takes care of a problem, but it creates its own problems later on. Okay? And that's the whole point of why we come to the table and we discuss things. To iron out all the wrinkles in a plan, to find out what's the best course of action. And you're going to find that there are no such things as quick fixes to a lot of things in this country, that every solution, brings about some kind of another issue. And the point of discussion is to, figure out a way, to minimize the fall, the blowback to whatever solution we create. Okay, it's almost like mapping out an attack plan in a battlefield. Okay, you want to cover your bases. You want to make sure you always have the upper hand. You know, you got to make steps ahead surrounding the area. You know what I'm saying? You want to do it like that. You can't just go charging in there like goddamn, and just think that you can win a fight just by pure number. No, it's more than that, okay? Because you have to also understand what you're going up against, okay? In this case, when you're going up against the healthcare industry, you're going up against a Goliath here. They're going up against a Goliath because we've fed that monster for decades and decades and decades. And believe me, they have control of a lot of the government. That's why I'm telling you right now, there's never going to be a universal health care. We'll have it for veterans, okay? For the veterans, we'll have it. Apparently, according to George H.W. Bush, that kind of a plan is okay for the veterans, but no, the citizens in this country can't have it because that's like Canada. Okay, you're going to be standing in lines. Well, what George H.W. Bush didn't tell you with that little tirade is that even here in this country, we have lines. People are always in lines at the hospitals and stuff like that waiting to get seen because we have a shortage of doctors in this country. We've been bringing doctors in from other countries, okay? I mean, even at the VA clinic, I had a doctor from India for a time. I think it was like for 5 or 6 months. He was staying at a hotel, okay? He came over here. They set him up in a hotel, and he treated me a little bit for a few months, and then after summer was over, then they sent him somewhere else, okay? But that's because, they didn't have anybody on hand to replace the doctor that I had yet, okay? So they grabbed this guy and only, but we have that going on in this country. We don't have enough doctors, okay? And so the waiting lines in this country are comparable to the waiting lines you might hear about in Canada. Because America's not the only country that's got a shortage of doctors. There's other countries that do, and Canada's one of them. So, it's a problem that, somebody on the right wing will just say, oh, well, they got waiting lines up there. You're never, that's a shitty system, and people just don't think after he says that, well, geez, I got a doctor appointment and it's like months away because he's seeing everybody. It's a waiting line here too, even, and it's crazy, I mean, there's people that they need a surgery, right? The doctor says, okay, we've got to have a surgery, but then they book them like a month or 2 months out, and it could be a heart surgery. Normally that would be taken care of as ASAP. But these days they got to put you in a line, and you better not miss that appointment or something happen where you change it, because that could be another 2 or 3 months you'll be waiting to see that surgeon. Okay, so we have the same problem here. It's just that it's the for-profit system that's got us waiting in line. Okay, but like I said, if we had a universal healthcare system like the veterans use, okay, at least, the burden of the payment and stuff like that would be diminished, okay? You wouldn't have to, you'd see fewer people going bankrupt over medical bills, which other countries cannot understand how in the hell Americans allow that to go on, okay? Because that doesn't happen in their country. People don't go bankrupt over shit like that, okay? They think we're completely insane to be a victim to that system. But like I said, it's better that way. And sure, do the doctors make the same amount of money in a system like that? No. When they work for a company, yeah, they probably would, because hey, supply and demand. There are not enough doctors. The doctors can write their own ticket, but on a for-profit system, yeah, they can get a lot of money working as a doctor in a hospital or something. But in universal health care, it's a basic pay line, but people can get service, and without that big heavy cost. Now, of course, the wealthy can always go and use a for-profit health care if that's what they want. If they got the money to afford it, sure. But what about the rest of us? I mean, you're forcing all of us onto the rich person's, version of healthcare when we can't afford it. And the proof is how many people go bankrupt every year on that system. You don't hear about wealthy people, like Trump going bankrupt because he had a huge hospital bill. You never hear that. It's always the poor schmuck that's stuck on using the hospital that the rich people are using, and they expect the poor person to divvy up all the money after it's done. Really, it's insane, and like I said, it's inhuman as well. People need to rewatch that documentary Sicko from Michael Moore that was released. I don't know how many over a decade ago. I guess it's been quite a while, but even then, it was as true then as it is today. Okay, and people just they ain't listening. I don't think they're listening, or maybe I think maybe in a way that was part of what Barack Obama was trying to answer was Obamacare. I mean, if you remember how it started, how Obama how the ACA was originally written, it was great. The original plan that Obama wanted to pass was great. Everybody loved it. But the Republicans, let's take this out, let's take that out, by the time they chopped that fucking ACA down, it was just a lukewarm improvement, and a lot of Democrats were really kind of upset that they made so many compromises with the right wing. They trimmed it down so bad it was almost like the improvements would be minimal at best, but they passed it anyway. Okay, and for some, it was an improvement on what they had, but it wasn't what Obama wanted. Okay, it's not what he wanted. But like I said, baby steps. Baby steps, baby steps. That's how the government is supposed to work. You can't get it all. Sure, there were people in the Democrat Party that said, "Oh, Obama's a failure. He couldn't do it." Yeah, that's because those people don't understand. Baby steps. That's how you make progress in this country. You don't get it all in one big fucking gulp, okay? Baby steps. You have to work your way to it, because people are always going to have another point of view. They're gonna push back, okay? But if you give them a little along the way, eventually you'll get a better plan, okay? And that's why everybody, they should have never told everybody in the country what was in the original writing of the ACA, because everybody had their hopes built up. It's like when you watch a trailer to a movie and you say, "Oh, that fucking movie's gonna be great." Okay, and then you go see it, and it's like, what the hell did I just watch? I wasted 2 hours of my life. Okay, that was the problem with the ACA. Is everybody was being told what was going to be, what was already written into it, and in a few months, that ACA just went from this to this, and that's what pissed everybody off. They should have kept their mouth shut about it, but they didn't. Okay, they didn't. And we all knew what was in it, but we got less than a third of what was in it, okay? And, people need to understand that to make progress on a national scale with 380 million Americans, baby steps, baby steps. And that's the truth in any country you're in, unless it's a dictatorship. But we certainly don't want to give up our freedoms and our democracy just so we can score some quick points, because that will, having a dictatorship comes with a price tag as well that we're not going to like, and we've just replaced one set of problems for another set. So you can't get it the way you want it. You're gonna have to get that and understand that any progress that we make in this country is going to come through strife, fighting, arguing, debating, okay, and eventually, and it should be, through negotiation and compromise. Okay, that's the way it has to work, and I know that's it takes a long time for that to happen, but that's just how it is. I mean, what the hell are you going to do? But going back to the video, all these people, these MAGA people, these pro-Trump people that are out there getting all upset now because of things Elon Musk is doing or things Trump has said. This is going to be something that you're going to be hearing a lot of for the coming, years. And hopefully, Democrats will get some control back in the next 2 years. Okay, I really hope that happens. And I don't think it's going to happen unless we get Republicans to help a little bit to get the Democrats at least in there, to get the Congress back, to get a majority back. That way, the MAGA nuts and Trump aren't going to have it such a clear road to get to what they want. They're going to try like hell in the next 2 years to get as much as they can through. Okay, that I can tell you. They're going to be, almost every week there's going to be something else he's going to try to push. He's going to keep doing this because he knows that in 2 years there's going to be midterm elections coming up, and he could, if he doesn't get what he wants done now, he won't ever get it done, because after that 2 years, and if the Democrats get control, he's basically going to be in a canoe without a paddle. He's just not going to be able to do much. So that's why the next 2 years is going to be brutal here for America, because Trump and all his allies, he's going to use up pretty big, to get what he wants, because that's his window of opportunity. But it's up to the Democrats to shut that fucking window after 2 years and get our hands back in control of this goddamn government here, because it's spinning out of control. Okay, and it hasn't even started yet. His administration hasn't started yet. So it's already, the public has already gone berserk here already, and MAGA is set on fire. They're attacking each other, attacking Musk, and Musk is fighting back. And it's silly. It's silly how this is all falling apart here, and they haven't even got their fucking ass in the chair yet. Republicans never could govern. I hate to say this, but it's true. I mean, can anyone ever think to a time when Republicans in power ever did anything right? I'm 53 years old. And from the time I could, was aware of how government works and all that stuff, and seeing how things were going, and I would say that, my awareness of government and what it does started with the Reagan years, okay? And everybody says, and I have to agree, that the downfall to this country, it may have started a little bit with Nixon, but it really picked up under Reagan, okay? It got very noticeable under Reagan, that the decline our country was heading in. And it didn't get any better. I mean, Bill Clinton for a while tried to, raise the nose of the airplane before we was crashing, okay, which, despite the angst that he created with Republicans, he managed to do. But as soon as he was done, when we got Bush Jr. in there, Jesus Christ. So, I mean, it's just, what can I say? It's been a fucking mess. And unfortunately, like I said, I can see how things have steadily declined. I've been living those years, so people really can't argue with me who didn't start at where I did. Okay, understanding government. I mean, the younger people today argue with me, but that's only because they never knew of a time that was better than it is now. Okay, they've got no memory to go back on to know when times were better. So the day they were born was like in 2000 or after that. It was pretty rugged even, at that point. There wasn't much good times, at the start of the century here. I think Biden is really, at this point, Biden was really the only one that kind of brought some stability, but we were still fighting off the residuals here of the Trump years under Biden. Obama was okay. I mean, he did do some things, but we never quite was back at the top anymore after that. You know, it just never, we never got back. We never did. So people don't really, the young people today don't have really any memory of that. And I think, you know, going back a little off topic, which is why I think it reflects that in this, in entertainment, what you watch on TV or in the movies, all this apocalypse shit and stuff like that. People are entertained by that because that really reflects more of how they see the world. You know, that it's gone to hell in a handbasket, and, you know, there are no good days. So, I mean, I feel like the younger generation feels they were born into an apocalypse because, you know, they're told in school what things the country could do. They get out into the real world and they find out they can't do it. You know, and so it's like a big letdown. So movies come out that are, you know, really doom and gloom kind of films and shit, and it's easy for them to swallow it because, hey, that's the way they see the world, you know. You know, there's a lot there to you know, the psychology, you know, and if you don't believe, just read the literature that came out in Japan after World War II ended. Now think about that. A country that was hit twice with nuclear bombs, or atomic bombs, okay? They lost 2 major cities there. That does something to a country. You may not think that, but imagine if that happened here in this country. We lose New York City and Los Angeles in a nuclear blast. What do you think that does to the psychology of the whole country as a whole as the time goes on, having been hit that way? You know, things like that matter, you know, and when the country's not doing well financially, that's its own kind of violence. You know, when you see people that are unable to get, like I was talking about, getting help in a hospital, you know, because they can't afford it. I mean, that kind of is a quiet, violent thing that goes on. Okay, it's not like being shot, but it's just watching your world just fall to pieces because there's nothing you can do. You don't have the money to prop up the fucking, you know what I'm saying, to fix. You can't do it. And so, you know, people growing up in an environment like that, and all they see is just a collapse around them of everything that made them feel safe, and it's gone. You know, kids going to school, shooting each other. You know, what can I say? I mean, there is, like I say, people should read literature from Japan, okay, after that period, you know, the things they would write about, stories and stuff like that. I mean, Jesus Christ, Godzilla is the biggest example of that right off the bat. You know, they made that, what was it, like less than 10 years after the fucking war was over or something? Right off. I mean, people were still, it was weighing heavily on their mind at what they had lost, the people they had lost in that war, and it shows itself in their entertainment. Okay, the things stories they write and stuff. I mean, I watch all kinds of things made in Japan, not just Godzilla, but they make all kinds of stuff, and it's always based in some kind of catastrophe, some, you know, world-changing event. You know what I'm saying? It's always about people rising out of the ashes all the time. That's what they do. That's how you can read a culture in a way. And you know, I think if people took the time to try to read it here in this country, I think they would understand, you know, maybe better why it's so, like, people can't believe in hope and stuff like that anymore. You know, it's just been taken away because we keep putting the wrong kind of assholes in power who keep preying on us for the benefit of the top, you know. All right, that's it for today. So I'll hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health-related matters. And hopefully I'll see you again soon, and keep yourself safe. So I'll talk to you later.